Yo, what's going on YouTube? This your boy Kamen Zero Spike back again once again. And today we're here for Avataro Sentai Donbrothers episode 39. We got a lot to talk about in this episode, man. There's a lot going on. And this episode, we get the introduction to the Dawn Killer and the Dawn Killer. But with that being said, guys, before I start this video, I want to say thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you for being patient with me, and also thank you for coming and liking the video, sharing the video, hitting that subscribe button, all that good jazz. And with that being said, I was going to get into this episode of the Dawn Brothers, which is, man, this is a lot to go on, man. There's a lot being answered. It's a lot being answered, especially with Black Kaito. But with that being said, we're going to get into it. So this episode basically starts off with the team basically cleaning up the cafe, thanking Black Kaito for everything he's done so far, and he's actually out getting a photo shoot for his photo books, his third photo book, by the way. So I guess this thing is somewhat of basically is a success. So we see that Haruka ends up finding this safe, and they end up they try unlocking the safe. They end up putting in they end up putting in their birthdays, and when they put their birthdays in, for some freaking reason it works, and they find this yellow button inside of it. When they find this yellow button, they end up pressing Jiru ends up pressing the button, and everything starts getting all rocky, and everything starts getting all shaky. So she presses the button, and then Jiru presses the button, and then we see that Kaito sees this, and he's like, "Oh, you guys summoned the Dawn Killer." And basically the Dawn Killer we find out he's the admin for the Dawn Killer. And the Dawn Killer is a cyborg created by the Dawn Clan to basically destroy the Dawn Brothers if they ever strayed from their path, if they ever stop doing what they're supposed to do. It basically is there to eliminate them. And we see that this thing appears before Taro, and for some reason it looks like Taro. For some reason he looks like Taro, and the rest of the crew end up getting there as well. They end up fighting this guy, and he utterly annihilates them. This guy is broken. It's not even cool. It's not even freaking fair. It's not even close to what to this. My boy is utterly freaking broken, a broken character, and he doesn't talk or anything like that. He just has he talks eventually, but he has facial expressions, and just that's really it. He's kind of creepy, but we see that they end up having to run away from him, and he ends up finding Inu brother. He ends up finding Tsubasa, and ends up giving Tsubasa the Hulk and Loki treatment, where it just starts slamming him into the ground rapidly in a goofy kind of way, and puts Tsubasa in the hospital, really messed up in the hospital. So we see the rest of the gang. They kind of get together talking about what do we do against this guy, and they actually ask, why does he look like Taro? And the simple answer was aesthetics. Just because. Yeah, that's it. So we see that everybody kind of is trying to just live their best life until they essentially die. We see that Sonoi offers his help to Taro, but also he says that, hey, this is our problem, we'll handle it or whatever. And you see that we know then Sonoi basically says that the Dawn Killer won't attack them because they're Cerebrand. So we see that though they do try and go fight him, but he's too overwhelming for them, and they end up running away. So hey, they bitched out. Yeah, so we ended up seeing that everybody's kind of just still trying to live out their lives. We see that Kaito goes and talks to Jin, and we see that Jin knows Kaito, and Jin is calling him the true hero. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. But he talks to him about the true hero, and he tells him more about the Dawn. He tells him more about the Dawn Killer, and that the Dawn Killer created by the Dawn Clan, things like that. But you find out that there is a Dawn Killer, another failsafe to their failsafe. But yeah, I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. So we see that Jiru is back in the countryside. He's visiting he's visiting the man that raised him. We see that yeah, he's visiting the man that raised him, and he's kind of just chilling there mostly. But then we see Sinoni. She's talking to this another random dude and trying to find love and all that crap. Turns out this guy is just was not really into her. He was just two timing his girlfriend, and yeah. So then that's when Tsubasa shows up and basically gives her the rundown on the difference between love and lust. Then the girl that the homeboy was two-timing with, turns out she ends up turning into a Hitotsuki, and yeah, like she kind of like disappears a little bit. Then that's when the rest of our team comes in, battles her, and then out of nowhere, that's when the Dawn Killer shows back up again and starts fighting them again, and they end up running away again. So but yeah, so that's when everybody kind of just trying to live their best life and whatever. We see that Kijino is writing his basically writing like a letter to Miho. Yeah, Miho's back. But yeah, writing a letter to Miho, basically telling her like, hey, you can, you know, whatever, all this stuff. And then that's when the Dawn Killer turns around again. He ends up intercepting Kijino. Kijino said, hey man, screw this, I'm not gonna die. And he ends up fighting the Dawn Killer. He gets the same treatment as Tsubasa got with the whole Hulk Loki thing, slamming him into the ground thing. Then we see that Tsuyoshi. Yeah, Tsuyoshi. You see that Tsuyoshi, he's writing a poem, stuff like that, his last poem before he dies. He ends up getting intercepted, and the same thing happens to him, and all three of them are in the hospital again. Then they end up getting intercepted. That's when we see Haruka writing her last manga, and that's when Don Momotaro, he comes in and tells her that your manga's kind of dull and stuff like that. Then they end up getting intercepted again by the Dawn Killer, and he tells her that, hey, I'm not gonna die until you write a better manga. And then she's not gonna die. She's like, I'm not gonna die till I write a better manga. So they end up fighting him again, and that's when Black Kaito shows up to help them, and he shows up to do absolutely no freaking damage. This thing is broken. The Dawn Clan just like, God, Tony Stark need to take some pointers from y'all, because this cyborg is broken. Like, it's not fair. Like, this guy shoots a rocket out of his mouth. He shoots beams and stuff out of his face. Like, this thing's broken. And so we end up seeing that since Jiru is back at the countryside, he ends up for some reason he ends up finding another button. He ends up finding another yellow button in his stepdad's essential room, and he ends up, and like how other people do, would tell you, hey, don't press that button, and they end up doing it anyway. Presses this button, and he ends up summoning the Dawn Killer. So he ends up summoning the Dawn Killer, and then this one, for some reason, looks like Tsuyoshi, and and then these two cyborgs start fighting each other. So while they're fighting each other, that's when the Hitotsuki girl comes in out of nowhere, and that's when Jiru, he ends up helping them out as well. And we see that Jiru and Taro end up destroying her. Then we get our mecha fight, which lasts like not even a minute really, and it ends up taking her out and stuff like that. She wakes back up in the place that she turned into. It doesn't remember anything. But they end up seeing the Dawn Killer and the Dawn Killer up in space, in orbit, fighting each other. Complete Dragon Ball fight. I mean, they're everywhere. They're black, man. It's basically a freaking Dragon Ball fight, and it basically says that they're basically just gonna fight forever until they, lose power or whatnot. But yeah, essentially they hint that these two are gonna fight forever. So now we're gonna stand here, and the rest of the series we're gonna be like, man, are these two guys still fighting in orbit? Like, are they still fighting? But yeah, so episode we'll go back to Jiru. He's back at his stepdad's house, and he ends up folding a piece of paper, and when he folds this paper, it's actually the penguin. So now we basically got confirmation that Jiru is a bestial, the penguin bestial, and there's a lot to talk about there, because it to a degree also kind of makes a lot of sense, but considering the fact that he has two personalities, and also he relates a lot to Don Murasame, and also makes sense of why Murasame's blade hurt him so bad. But yeah, this seems like he is the penguin bestial, and we find, and it's also kind of another thing, but we know that Black Kaito isn't a bestial, or I mean, so far we know. Hey, I'm hoping that he's still our regular Kaito, but yeah, basically the confirmation's there. Like, Jiru is probably a perfect bestial, and what I mean by perfect bestial, is he's a bestial that worked. Since he also appeared on Earth around the same time Tato did, he's most likely a bestial that actually worked. And also, Black Kaito doesn't have, a point tally for him. So his point tallies probably are elsewhere being dealt by someone else. Or maybe he just doesn't have them, and because, he's a Don. He's part of a Don. He's part of the Don clan, so most likely he doesn't have point tallies anyway, just like, Tato doesn't. But this could be he could be like the deciding factor on having these two factions kind of make peace with each other, since he is sort of an example of what a perfect bestial may look like. But yeah, man, also wondering, how did his stepdad get the button? And is his stepdad, was his stepdad, has his stepdad talked to anyone to end up getting this button? He has to become an admin of the Dawn Killer. But other than that, like, there's a lot. Like, Jiru could be the deciding factor between these two factions making peace with each other. And I hope he is. I hope this is all right. I hope this is correct. But you guys, let me know down in the comment section below. What you guys think of episode 39 of Avataro Sentai Donbrothers? Make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys next time. And remember, stay henshined.